In this video, we're going to show you how to install the lower ball joint on your Volvo XC90 located in the front suspension. Using our 19mm socket, we're going to loosen and remove our lug nuts. Let's remove our wheel and set it aside. And on the outside here, we want to go ahead and remove the axle bolt using our 13mm socket. Loosen and remove that. Now ideally what you want to do is this axle inside our wheel hub should be free floating. So you reach around, you can grab that CV axle and try and pull that out. And ours is stuck. If yours is stuck, go ahead and spray this down with some rust penetrant. Let that soak up inside there. Now we're going to use a large brass punch on the inside. You don't want to use anything that's going to damage the threads on the axle shaft end. You should feel the axle starting to move, and then you can come around to the back side and you should be able to slide that axle back in. There it is. So now that we know that our axle is free floating here, that's going to allow us to go ahead and pull our whole assembly outward, dislodging the control arm from the chassis of the vehicle, and then we can pop the lower ball joint. Using our 21mm socket, go ahead and loosen the ball joint nut. We do want to go ahead and separate our ABS wire from these two connection points here. Now you never want to grab the wire and just pull it out. You can damage the wire. Use two fingers, one on each side, and you can try and roll this out like so. And here do the same, just use two fingers and you can kind of roll that out. Here it is. On our knuckle to strut assembly, we have two large bolts, one here, one just down below. We want to go ahead and loosen and remove the nuts. These are 21mm. We're going to use an 18mm wrench on the bolt head side and our socket on this side here. I'm going to start by tapping out our upper bolt. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tap out our lower bolt. We're then going to lift the whole knuckle assembly up, pulling the ball joint out of the lower control arm. And then we're going to take that bolt and install it in the upper portion of our knuckle to our strut, holding the assembly in place. When we do this here, the axle will pop out. Set that off to the side. We went ahead and we separated the ball joint from the control arm. That allows us to get in here and apply some heat to these bolts. You don't want to snap these off inside the knuckle. Now we're going to use our chisel to go ahead and pop out our ball joint. So now go ahead and clean out the ball joint bore. We also want to make sure that the surface here is clean of any major rust. Now I'm just using a little bit of sandpaper here to go ahead and clean the surface. You can use a 120 grit. We're not here to remove any metal, we just want to clean up the surface. So make sure that when we install our ball joint, It has a nice smooth surface to mate it to. Good, line up a ball joint. We did put some anti-seize compound on the splines on this here. I'm going to install a cup here to help us tap this up into place. Now that we have our bolts started, I'm going to go ahead and run these up. And we are going to snug those, but we're not going to use the bolts to pull this up inside because they just won't. It's a pretty tight fit in here. So we're going to go back to our cup and continue to tap this in. Once we see that the ball joint is fully seated, we can tighten these down. Pull out that upper bolt. Get that lower ball joint installed. Bring our axle around. Get our lower knuckle bolt lined up. Work that in. Get that axle lined up. Push in that upper. Install the nuts on our strut bolts. Let's now go ahead and torque down our ball joint bolts here to 37 foot-pounds. Install the ball joint nut. Let's go ahead and torque it down to 74 foot-pounds. Now what we want to do is torque these to 77 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. Now we have to tighten these an additional 90 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a marker here, and it just happens to be that the crown of our nut right here is right up roughly about 12 o'clock. And we're going to turn this until it is facing towards the inner part of the vehicle. And you may have to use your wrench here to hold that. I'm going to use a breaker bar. Go just a little more. Okay, so we're at our 90 degrees. So now we're going to go ahead and do the same for the bottom. Going to install the axle bolt. We want to snug that down, and then we're going to torque it to 26 foot-pounds. Now you can use a small pry bar or a flathead screwdriver, put it between the caliper bracket and the brake rotor cooling fin, and then go ahead and torque this down to 26 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to use a marker, and I'm going to mark this here. You need to go ahead and crank this 90 degrees so it's a quarter turn. It's going to come around right to that mark there. Go ahead and remove that screwdriver or your pry tool. Grab your wheel. Let's go ahead and line this up. Let's go ahead and get all of our lug nuts started first. Then we'll come on back and snug them down. All right, let's go ahead and torque them down. Let's now go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 103 foot-pounds. When doing this here, it's best to do it in a crisscross or star pattern.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.